everyone, welcome to Trippin' to Travel. I'm Lauren LaCrone, the owner of this amazing account. And today we're doing another episode of Trip Planning 101. Basically, if you haven't watched the first episode, you're missing the budget aspect of the trip, which is where I would like to start before planning and getting into the nitty-gritty. If you haven't already, go ahead and watch the first episode, Budget Planning. I think that would be really beneficial for those that have not seen it to start there first and then plan the rest of the trip from there. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive on into it. So from the first episode, basically you've pretty much already done a little bit of this, but we're going to talk about hotels and basically what research can you do to find hotels. So here I'm going to go into the browser, and a lot of this, you will get the screen version of this, but I do want to at least go over a little bit in detail. Let's just dive into it. I want to share a couple of applications I use to basically find good deals, the process, and then I'll definitely show you kind of step by step what that looks like. So first of all, when trying to find a hotel specifically, I will find an area and that I want to stay at. So for Greece, for example, there was a specific location that we wanted that was close to all the monuments, and it was even allowing us to see a view. And so we researched hotels in that area and then was able to narrow it down based off of price point and amenities. So the best thing to do is pinpoint the area in which you would like to stay, and then maybe list a few amenities that you would like and your price point, and then go from there. But for me, staying in a certain location can be key on how your day goes from there. That's just something that I find helpful, is I like to stay in the area and location that is closest to where I'm going to be going and viewing things, and it just makes it so much smoother. I will look it up in location first in Google, which seems very straightforward. Like, okay, duh. Just because that's pretty much the place to start. It's very easy. You're not having to look through so many different things. Now, I must say that there's going to be some things changing in a sense of I may have access to more applications than you do, so I'm keeping it as a from your point of view, and I can explain what that means later. There'll be other videos later on that, but from your point of view, I'm researching hotels. Google is probably going to be my first bet, and I'm going to look it in there as location, and then I'm going to go through. And some key things to keep in mind when looking at a hotel: reviews. Reviews are a big thing, and obviously you're like, duh, but I always keep in mind of the date of the review, because a lot can change in a year or 6 months, and definitely a lot can change in 2 or more years. So I like to definitely keep it as close to the time that I'm researching it as possible so that it's a more accurate review. I then go to their website. I check a lot of things out on their website, including packages, what amenities they may have, price points based off of their website versus other applications like Hotel.com, I think Expedia. I'm trying to think of other little secondary places. but you can look at it on there and kind of compare. I will say that for me personally, I book them more direct than through a third party, just because I feel a little bit more comfortable doing that. However, I've been in situations where we've done a third party, and so it could go either way. It really doesn't matter. It's just what you find comfortable, and price point wise, I really feel like that's just the difference between the two of them is going to be majority of price. So that's what I look at, and then going from there, I definitely go and check out Instagram. And that might seem weird to you, but I go and I check out and see if they have an Instagram. And I creep on their posts and I try to see what to me it's more telling when I creep on their Instagram. And of course, you look at the tag pictures and like who they follow and, people that have been there. And I feel like that gives you a little bit of a better feel of that hotel. I do that if I went through the website and their price point and their amenities and everything, I'm interested in them. And usually I'll have like a top 3 to 5 hotels that I'll be interested in, that I will look through their stuff and then kind of narrow it down. And a lot of it, when I'm narrowing it down, will be based off of those categories. Location, amenities, and price point. So just keep that in mind when researching those things. Those 3 things are a big thing, I think, when trying to at least get a contender for a hotel. You may be out there and you're like, it really doesn't matter to me. Like, I just need to find a hotel. I'm like, okay, let's find you a hotel. That's not gonna break the bank, right? A lot of the times when you're doing your budget, you've already done a little bit of this research, so you already know kind of what your price point is. And you can either choose to stick with it and stick with the budget, or kind of rearrange things based off of the more information you find. That is why on the budget episode, I always say that should be like your minimum price point, just because when really digging in and researching, those things can change and you never know when you want to add certain packages onto things. So when looking at hotels, again, the 3 things that are a big thing: location, reviews, price point, and amenities. I guess 4 things. Talked about location. So to kind of dive into location a little bit further, location can also mean safety. So we want to make sure that we research, that we're not in a bad part of town or wherever you are. Do your best to kind of research that. And a lot of times you can find out that information by going online and researching it. Typically, another good resource would be if you have anyone familiar with the area, reaching out. If not, there are resources out there like travel agents that have been there. You may be able to look up some Instagram accounts and stuff like that that are in that area. So on location, we want to make sure it's near things that we are going to be at, or you are going to be at, because again, that just makes the trip go so much smoother in my opinion. But just for instances like LA, mainly like big cities, I would say LA, Paris, Athens, it just helped tremendously that we were near things that we wanted to visit, because you're not paying a lot on Uber, walking a lot, scooters, like you're trying to find all this transportation to get there, and it can get pretty pricey. Let's talk about amenities. So what in the world could be so important at a hotel that just breaks the bank or just has to be a priority? Well, let me tell you. Paris, I know I use this example a lot, but it was very insightful, and I think it definitely helps when planning any type of trip. So Paris. I wanted a view of that stinking Eiffel Tower, man. That was the thing. I needed a view of the Eiffel Tower. So I did so much research on trying to find a hotel. And you know, some of them say you have a view of the tower. Well, not always the case. So I did a lot of research. Again, those pictures from Instagram, calling them and making sure, really looking at the location from Google Maps, really painted a picture for me. So one amenity for me was that I had a view. Now, not always is that like the thing that you just have to have, but for me, it was a view. For Ryan, it was breakfast in the morning. He wanted a breakfast that was included, so I had to make sure that that was something that checked the box when researching. For some, it could even be, hey, mine needs a gym or a spa at my hotel, so those are some things that you look at. Or you know, it'd be Oceanside. Like when I went to St. Thomas, we had Oceanside. We had a balcony with an Oceanside. So those are just some things that are amenities that you... Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about reviews on hotels. So this can be kind of tricky, and before you know it, you've scrolled through so many reviews and you're just getting lost and frustrated, and it gets to be a little overwhelming. So just quickly look over them real quick. Don't overanalyze them. It's very easy to. It's very easy to be like, oh, well, I have to nitpick everything. I think the only thing that needs to be alarming is if it's constant negative. If it's something that they say in there that you're like, this is an absolute, I cannot have this in my hotel. So those are some things that you can look at when looking at reviews. They're very vital and important, but don't get lost in the sea of comments. So just know that those are important. They're there for a reason, and just skim over them and make sure that they're recent, and if there's any alarming things that come up. And fourth, just price point. Won't go too much into this because this kind of stems from budget, but you know, just have a realistic price point for things and make sure that it's not just going to break the bank on that. It's really simply all I have to say for price point. It's going to change, especially depending on those other three things. If they're a good hotel, they're probably going to be more. I mean, just realistically. So if you do not have time to really do the research, I highly suggest looking into someone who will do that for you, that you can give a little bit of, hey, I want this and this, and I don't want this. And then they can go from there for you. But I hope that this was beneficial. I know that's a lot of information, but you made it through episode number 2 of Trip Planning 101. Episode number 3 is going to be coming out soon. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check out my Instagram page, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. So thank you so much for watching, everyone.